Thank you for attending this Connect Together event. During this event, we have automatic closed captioning available. Please go to the bottom of the Zoom meeting, click Live Transcript, and then Show Subtitles to turn them on. Before we begin, we'd like to take a quick moment to let you know how you can join an opinion research panel made specifically for British Columbians living with disabilities.
For 25 years, the Disability Foundation has been fostering meaningful experiences for Canadians with disabilities through outdoor recreation, social connectedness, innovative adaptive devices, and more. Today we are asking, how has the pandemic affected you? Help strengthen decision makers' understanding of your needs and experiences by joining an online opinion research panel consisting solely of people with disabilities and their caregivers. Make a difference in your community today. The Disability Foundation. Reimagine what is possible.
Did you know? Young adults with disabilities have a harder time getting hired. Break down barriers by sharing your story. Take our survey.
All right, thank you, Renée. You can go ahead.
Thank you very much. How are you? I am Renée, and I am a registered dietitian, and I represent myself, and I also have a company called True Nosh. Those of you who don't know me, I used to do weekly nutrition sessions with ConnecTogether, and we did a lot of cooking at my kitchen, and I also did a lot of different nutrition presentations. So I'm back again, and I'm super excited to be here to share some of my nutrition tips for the holidays. I'm going to talk about some portion control. So I actually provided some slides that I'm going to share with everyone here. And I hope that you guys will follow me in this presentation. So it is December, and I want to touch on some holiday eating tips and some portion control tips. Again, my name is Renée, and I am a registered dietitian in both BC and Canada, as well as the US. I have a master's in clinical nutrition, and I worked in a lot of different clinical settings, such as cancer research hospitals, as well as cardiac rehab centers. And I've started a company called True Nosh, which is based in Vancouver, and we really focus on healthy eating and wellness. Because my father actually died of diabetes about 10 years ago, I make that my focus. So prevention of diseases such as diabetes and heart disease. So my mother currently suffers from high blood pressure as well as inflammation. So I believe that a lot of our current lifestyle and our food and our systems that we as a society really cause a lot of inflammation in our body. And what I am doing with True Nosh is to really kind of focus on foods that really try to help people understand how to lower their inflammation, as well as being more of a moderate and balanced human being by choosing different foods that they can add to their daily regimen in the kitchen or eating out. So I really focus on no added sugars. So it doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be exciting when you're cooking. I use a lot of different types of fruits, and I add a lot of different types of things that include a lot more fiber and protein in your diet, and also in your recipes that you can modify at home. So today, later after this presentation, I'm going to do a quick recipe with you in my kitchen. So stay tuned for that. I'm also plant focused. I'm not 100% vegan or vegetarian, but I believe that increasing plants in your diet can definitely increase the fiber and the antioxidants, therefore causing you to become healthier and prevent diseases and live without any pain or diabetes or heart disease. So I'm also celiac friendly because my partner has celiac disease, which those of you who don't know is a gluten intolerance or a sensitivity. So my company True Nosh is also focused on gluten-free products as well. And if you want to check out my company more and more about me, go to TrueNosh.com. And those of you who have questions, I can answer probably after the presentation, or you can type in the comments, and after the presentation, I can see if I can follow up with you. If you come up with anything after the presentation, you can always email me at info@truenosh.com. So I will get to you as soon as I can. So the holidays are coming up, which is an exciting time of year. And a lot of times in the Western Hemisphere, we're in a colder weather climate. So we are going to be less outdoors and more indoors. We're going to focus on more heavier foods, such as, soups and things that have more fat content. And we like to celebrate with drinks. So some of these drinks are very, very rich and sweet. So therefore, accumulating in caloric intake could be something that you might be focusing on during these times. And then usually during party time, there's a lot of food, and it is very hard to kind of stay away from all these nice and beautiful gourmet foods. And we're also not as much at work. So we're going to spend a lot of free time at home, and usually at home, there's a lot of different snacks. So these are sometimes a difficult time for a lot of people who are trying to keep healthy, and I want to address that with you guys. So what you want to do is budget wisely when you're invited to a party or a dinner. Don't eat everything. You have to be choosy and spend calories judiciously, because you want to be able to enjoy yourself and not feel bad after you leave the party. So you want to kind of go around. If there's a buffet, make sure you kind of see all the things that are available and choose the things that you really love and be able to eat those first. And then enjoy yourself. Take your time, and there's usually ample amounts of food. So there's really no hurry to get these on your plate. Okay, so budget wisely and take your time is one of my first tips. Try distancing from the food table. So the whole process of going to a friend's house or a family's is to spend time with them. So if you don't stand next to the food table and mindlessly reach for foods as you talk, you won't be likely to overeat. And you know that if you're prone to recreational eating, you could always go to the party with, some gum or like a mint in your mouth, and you might be able to slow down your process of putting things on your plate or just mindlessly eating something that you don't even like. Okay? So when you are at the party, there's often a lot of different types of beverages, and one of these can include eggnog or wine and beer, and they often are pretty high in calories. For example, right now I'm talking about eggnog, which can be as high as 500 calories. It depends on what your friends and family put in their drinks, right? You do want to slow down and sip on it and enjoy all the goodies that are presented to you. And you want to be mindful of how many you're actually drinking during the night. So if you're prone to having a lot of drinks, maybe in between the drinks, you drink a glass of water or a flavored seltzer water that have low calories in between each drink to help you slow down the caloric intake, and hopefully you don't have to increase your mindful act when you do separate the different types of drinks during the party. And when you're trying to have fun, you obviously want to go and not really think of these things. So maybe try to avoid alcohol on an empty stomach. So eat something first, because alcohol actually increases your appetite and diminishes your ability to control what you eat. So before you go to the party, these are some things that you want to be mindful and understand yourself more, so you can slow down the amount of high caloric drinks when you go to a party. Veggies. I know this is not something that everyone is excited about when you go to a party, but try to make room for these veggies, because if you ignore the veggies, they might, you might overeat and overindulge on very sweet things like cookies or chips. And you also want to be mindful if the veggies are doused with creamy sauces or butter. Try to, choose the veggies that are more on the friendly side. So you can definitely count on yourself and be accountable for all the things that you choose when you go to these events. 10 minutes is a very good amount of time to let yourself be mindful of how full you are, because a lot of times your brain doesn't register how much you've eaten until 10 or 15 minutes after, because it takes time for that message to send from your stomach all the way to your brain. I know it's not a long way to you, but in the body, that is relatively the average amount of time that takes for you to register that you're getting full. So if you are thinking that you might want to get up and get a second plate, just take a 10-minute break, go talk to someone that you haven't talked to for a while, drink some water, go to the bathroom, or just take 10 minutes and just recheck your appetite to see if you're actually really full. And if you do want to get a portion of seconds and you want to review the choices again afterwards, because a lot of these events usually have ample amounts of food, so you don't really have to hurry and get everything on your plate at once. So some food for thought. So pay attention to what really matters. Again, as I said in the beginning of this presentation, food is a huge part of the holidays, and you should really focus on spending that time with your friends and family and share laughs and cheer and reflect on the past year. So as a matter of fact, I often encourage people to indulge sometimes, and this is the time to indulge, but after that, you should really consider putting a balance and moderation as your usual guide. And I believe that you can do it and everything will be as exciting as you thought it would be without overindulging in the foods and the portions, as well as creating a mindset when you go to these events, because it is a real time to share the holidays with your friends and family and your loved ones. Okay, so now I do want to kind of go through some portion sizes. Those of you who have seen some of my presentations last year, I went through some of these a while ago, and I just want to reiterate some of the things that you can be mindful of when you go and grab your food at parties, or even at every day when you're cooking for yourself, or buying things at the grocery store, or ordering at the restaurant. Okay, so according to Health Canada, you want to have an alternative milk or milk. You want to basically have a serving size of 1 cup, which is usually like your fist size, right? Those of you who are lactose intolerant can have so many options right now. So there is almond milk, there's oat milk, now there's actually buckwheat milk. Those of you who are worried about other things such as hormones as well as protein, you want to make sure that you read your labels. I had a whole section and an actual day on focusing on labels a few months ago on this particular platform with ConnectTogether. So I urge you to review some of my slides about reading your labels. If you're looking for things to eat, make sure you look at the labels and see if there's a good amount of protein, also a good amount of fiber. So fiber in one of your best friends, I would say. And you want to kind of consider about 3 grams or more of fiber per serving is a food that you can rely on. So if it's less than 3 grams, you might want to kind of see how much sugar there is. And if there's a lot of sugar, you might want to put that food down and go and see something else that has more fiber in it, because fiber slows down your absorption of carbs and sugar, so simple carbs, as well as feeds your gut bacteria and is a prebiotic. So the good bacteria will eat the fiber and will thrive and make your gut flora very healthy and happy. And also it helps absorb the water in your large intestines, helping you go to the bathroom a lot easier. So you're eating something like cheese, you want to try to choose something that's about 1.5 ounces. And those you can utilize your thumbs for serving size. And then protein. So a good rule of thumb is to check out your palm. One good amount of protein is about 2.5 ounces, which is the palm of your hand. And that will be for fish and meat and poultry. And protein is actually very high, peanut butter is actually very high in protein, but there's also some fat in that too. So you don't want to overindulge on nut and seed butters. You also want to follow the rule of thumbs by choosing your serving size to be about 2 tablespoons, which is about 2 thumbs of a portion. And then nuts and seeds, again, using your hand, it's about 1/4 cup, which is 60 mils, and using a cup hand to get your portions of nuts and seeds is important. Nuts and seeds are great because they have everything. They have fiber, they have protein, and they have fats. So it is an all-around pretty good choice. If you are having any allergies, make sure that you check the label again in the back side of the package to make sure that you can eat everything that is labeled on the package. And legumes. So legumes have a pretty wide range. So there's beans, there's lentils, there's chickpeas. There is a lot of fiber as well as protein in legumes. And 3/4 of a cup is a good serving size for legumes. So again, I'm referring to the Canada's Food Guide, and we recommend you to follow this also when you're eating out or going to a buffet or going to a friend's house. You want to have plenty of fruits and vegetables. So half of your plate should be relatively all fruits and vegetables. And then 1/4 can be protein, which is like lean meats like chicken breast, fish. We can have a little bit of eggs, and proteins also include like beans, tofu, chickpeas, lentils, nuts and seeds, and other types of meats. Whole grains should probably take up about 1/4 of your other plate. So whole grains meaning like brown rice, whole wheat pasta, noodles, and quinoa is actually a complete protein. We also covered that in another presentation of mine. It has about 20 different essential amino acids which make up a whole protein. And then darker full whole wheat and whole grain breads can be included in this section. And your drink of choice can also be something that you need to be mindful of, because drinks are usually very full of sugar if you're not mindful about what you choose, right? So try to stay away from fruit juices or colas or pops, because that is something that is it has a lot of calories and really has no nutrition content. Try to drink water. Water is your best friend. You want to keep hydrated. Water will make you less likely to indulge, and also will help you keep yourself fuller. Choosing your health is very important. Again, reading your labels. Please eat slowly. A lot of people don't even think before they swallow, or don't even chew before you swallow. That's one major key in our fast-paced society, is we eat so fast that sometimes we don't even know what we've eaten. So I encourage you to taste your food and think of all the ingredients and work that has been put into creating a healthy meal and a delicious meal. So think of all the different seasonings, maybe think of where the food comes from, and that can really put your mind at ease, so you don't have to scarf down a big bowl of plate. So your body has enough time to register that you're full, and therefore you don't have to eat as much to satisfy your craving. Maintaining a healthy weight. So you can talk to either your physician or a registered dietitian to determine what your healthy weight is. And everyone is different. Therefore, I can't recommend one type of diet for everybody. You need to know yourself and be able to understand what your body needs at this certain time. Also, different age ranges are different. And if you're a man or a woman, it also varies because of your gender. If you're a smoker, try to find different ways that you can try stop smoking. So talk to your pharmacist. They might have solutions that can help you with that. And managing your stress. So I always say health and nutrition is a holistic approach. You need to be able to feed your body, obviously, with the goods that are available at the grocery stores or restaurants, but you also have to talk to someone and have a good support system to really help with your mental healthness. Okay, so your mental health is very important. Decreasing your stress is very important. I always say that to myself. I talk to a lot of my friends, and I have a large support system that I can make sure that they keep me in check, and I need to be able to reach out to those people that love me. Okay, and don't be afraid, because they are going to be there. And if you don't have anybody to talk to, you can always call HealthLink. Okay, and you can always call 811 to speak to someone that is a nutrition background, like a dietitian can be found on 811, and a nurse can be found also. And try to focus on having fun, right? So life is short, and you want to do something that you really love, and you really want to be eating things that you actually love and not be ashamed of the foods that you've chosen. So taking that time to be able to love the food that you've chosen and also love yourself is absolutely 100% very, very important. So some steps you can take. All right, so I hope the slides has helped with how to overcome the holiday stress. But what you can do throughout the year is trying to adapt a balanced diet. Again, I have so many slides from previous presentations on ConnecTogether that you can look into how to adapt a balanced diet, what types of proteins to choose, how to increase fiber, how to increase antioxidants, adapting a healthy lifestyle. I know it's very cold out there, but I know that there are a lot of different communities right now that offer online classes. You can do some stretching, meditation, some online yoga. Chair yoga is great, and some breathing exercises can really help calm down your nervous system at this time. Sleep. Again, it's another thing that you want to be able to focus on, trying to sleep well. And sleeping is really a time that you replenish and let your body rest, so you can go forth and make sure that you can have the rest to battle the next day. If you have a really stressful lifestyle, sleep is, again, another very important thing that you should focus on. So if you have problems sleeping, you might want to talk to your doctor to see what steps you can take to help you optimize your hours of sleeping and how to make that sleep much more efficient. Prevention is key, is what I always say. Like, you don't want to work yourself to the max that you develop something that is hard to go back and redo, because time is of the essence, and you want to make sure that you live a long and happy life, and you want to be healthy. So you don't want to be discovering that you have diabetes when you know that you have family history with diabetes. You want to make sure you act now. If you know you have a family history of heart disease, diabetes, you want to go and see your doctor to get a blood check to see what you're up to and see what things you can do to prolong that healthy period before you discover that something can't be prevented or can't be changed, right? And that is something that you need to be open about, talking to your physician or finding a registered dietitian in your community. You can also visit bcdietitians.ca if you're in British Columbia. We have a lot of different dietitians that are focused on different types of diseases or different types of needs for you and your family. If you have children, there's dietitians that can have focused on, taking care of your kids. If you have elderly in your family, there are dietitians that also focus on the elderly population. So don't be hesitant and don't try to work on everything yourself, because there's always someone out there that can help you. Okay, so that is my presentation. Shall we go to my kitchen and do a quick presentation? Okay, so I love cooking. Cooking is something that I use to de-stress, and I love cooking and feeding people. And that's something that I've always done, and I really enjoy healthy recipes, right? So a lot of the videos that I've already made for Conetra has no added sugar, so I never use any sugar, and I use a lot of fruits to substitute for the sugar. And when you are buying fruits, like during the summertime, you can also stock up on seasonal fruits and freeze them. So I buy a lot of like cherries and blueberries and strawberries during the summertime, and you can lock in the nutrition when you are buying those fruits at that time. And usually those times is when those fruits are cheaper too, because there's a lot of it. So you can stock that up in your freezer, and then during the year you can put it in different recipes like pies or smoothies, or even spreads and jams. So today I'm actually going to share with you a very, very quick recipe that I've always done for some holiday gatherings. So you need a bowl, and you need to find an all-purpose flour. So I have my version of a all-purpose flour that I created, and I've increased actually fiber in my flour mix already. So my flour mix has a source of fiber. So I'm going to take half a cup of my flour. And if you want to increase fiber, there's also another tip. So what I have here is some Psyllium husk fiber. So you can find that really in any health food store. Any grocery store usually has it in stock right now. Psyllium husk fiber is in Metamucil, but Metamucil has a flavoring that's usually citrusy, and there's a little bit of sugar in that. So you can find just raw and untouched Psyllium husk. And you can add extra fiber to whatever flour you decide to use. Okay, so you can add about half a teaspoon in there, or sorry, half a tablespoon in there. And this Psyllium husk is great. So what it does, it actually locks in the moisture in your flour, and you can put it in the fridge, and you can keep it in there for a few days, so you don't have to use the flour right away when you make it. So we're doing a empanada. Actually, I didn't show you what to do. We're doing a sweet empanada, and usually I bring this as desserts. And it actually helps people decrease the portion of desserts that they eat, because it's smaller and it's not as sweet. Well, it's still sweet because of the fruits, but there's no sugar in it. All right, so I'm using some coconut oil. All right, so I have half a cup of flour and I have half a tablespoon of Psyllium husk. Now I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. You can use butter if you eat dairy, and if you don't use dairy, then you can use coconut oil. We're making a really easy pie crust, so I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of coconut oil in here. This makes about 6 or 7 empanadas, okay? And before I did anything, actually, before my presentation, I actually went ahead and preheated my toaster oven. You don't need to preheat your whole oven for this if you're only making a handful of empanadas. Okay, so I have 3 tablespoons of coconut oil in my mixing bowl. And then what I want to do is now get in there with my hands and start mixing it together and squeezing the coconut oil and the Psyllium husk, mixing it all in. All right, so now after mixing it all in, it looks like small little granules of flour with some pea-sized coconut oil in there. I have a little bit of water that I'm going to add into my mixture. First, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons worth, okay? And you don't want to overhydrate this. You just want to make sure that it squeezes into a dough ball and you can start rolling it. Okay, so another 2 tablespoons. And I think that is a good size. So I added just about 4 tablespoons of water to this recipe, and it's becoming a nice piece of dough that I can form into empanadas or wraps. This dough you can make beforehand, and you don't have to really worry about it for a few days if you don't have time during the holiday season. You can also freeze this and thaw it out once you are ready to make your meat empanadas. Okay, so now I've created a nice dough ball and we're ready to do some cute empanadas. We're just gonna let it rest in the bowl for about 5 minutes while I wash my hands, and we're going to cut up some fruit. Okay, so I have an apple here, and then I also have a jam that I make for the winter season, and I use cranberries and figs for my jam, and I don't use any sugar. So you can buy jams that have no sugar in the grocery store, and you want to try to taste your most exciting fruits. So I have cranberries and figs, and I put a little bit of cinnamon and cloves in here to really make the festive season come into life with my jam. Okay, so I have an apple. You don't have to use a really big apple. It just has to be an apple that you like to eat. So I have some Gala apple here, and I'm just going to cut it into small pieces. You don't need that much for this recipe. And it's just going to be a small dice for these apples. Okay, so after you cut them roughly, you can put it on the side of your cutting board. Okay, and then we're going to open our jam and make sure that there's ample amounts of room for you to roll out your dough. So now I'm going to grab my dough. Okay, this might not look like a lot of dough, but it will make you a lot of empanadas. So I'm just going to break off about a piece like this, okay? And then I have a rolling pin, but you don't have to have a rolling pin if you don't want to. You can also use a wine glass or like any sauce bottle. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to grab some flour and flour the bottom of my working surface so I get to have this non-stick surface for my empanadas. Okay, so you can also make tart shells with this recipe as well. So it doesn't have to be perfectly round. It doesn't have to be super duper, but it will look really pretty once we're done making it. All right, so I have a metal sheet that I lined with some parchment paper, and I have it really close to me so I can put my empanadas on there once I have finished it. So now I'm putting on a little bit of the sugar-free jam I made, and then a little bit of apples on top, Because my jam already has cinnamon and cloves, I don't really need to add any more seasoning. But if you like to add some seasoning, like cinnamon, if you have it at home, cloves is great for the this time of year because it's a warming spice. And now I want to make a little pocket with my empanada. Okay, so once I have that, I'm going to put it on my plate. Now I'm going to get a fork and we're going to make some nice designs on the empanada. Okay, so now we're just going to grab a fork and we're going to fork and close off the empanadas so they don't open up during the baking. Okay, we're going to press the edges close. And once you do that, you can go on and start another empanada. So I'm going to go and do that again with you. So break off another piece of flour. You want to have some flour on your working surface. It doesn't have to be a big piece. It's a little bit smaller than a ping pong ball. And you want some flour on your rolling pin so it doesn't stick. And you want to gently roll out a piece of wrapper that is about the size of your palm. I didn't add any flour to my rolling pin. See, this is what happens when you don't add flour to your rolling pin. Let me just try that again. Okay, with this dough is pretty easy. So you can scrunch it back together. Because I use gluten-free dough, so it doesn't actually develop too much gluten, so you don't have to worry about over kneading or over pressing your dough. Okay, so let me try that again. Okay, it's better now. So again, you can use any type of flour, so you can use regular wheat flour or a gluten-free flour that you have at home. You can also even do almond flour as well. Okay, again, it doesn't have to be perfectly round. You can press it down with your palms and then scoop about a teaspoon of jam onto the middle of your wrapper, and then about a teaspoon of apples. And then you can start making a nice pocket with your dough. And then using a fork, just closing the sides of your empanada. And this is going to be a delectable dessert when you go and take it to a party. So I did 2 already, and you want to make sure that you have something like your favorite type of milk, or you can melt some butter. I have this thing called a nabati plant egg, which is a liquid plant based egg. And I'm just gonna make a little egg wash on top of my empanadas to make them look brown and beautiful when they come out of the oven. You can use a regular egg wash, just whisk up some eggs and brush it on top of your empanadas. But I'm just showing you that there's a lot of different options out there now that you can do. Okay, so the oven is already preheated and you can put it in your oven. This is about 375 for about 10 to 12 minutes. When your empanadas start getting nice and brown, you know it's ready, and let it cool a little bit before you eat it. And you can always freeze it and then rebake it again or put it in the fridge for about 3 days, and you can bring it to a friend's house afterwards. And it's more of a guilt-free, higher fiber dessert or a snack that you can serve to your friends and family to tell them that you love them. And I hope, I'm just gonna wash my hands really quickly. You guys had a fun time with this presentation. Okay, so I am going to open the floor to any questions now. If you guys want to ask anything or type anything in the chat. Is there something already in the chat? Nope. Okay. Well, if there are no questions, please, if you think of anything that you can, that you want to ask me, just email me or go to my website and get on my newsletter, and you can see what's going on. We're about to actually open a shop in Vancouver on 7th Avenue near Granville and Hemlock. So those of you who are close to Granville Island can stop in. Hopefully our opening date will be sometime next week, but I can't really guarantee that. So stay tuned on our website and we'll definitely engage everyone when we're ready for the shop to open. But currently, we have a website that offers a lot of what I use in my cooking today. So you can check out my website at truenosh.com. I do speak Cantonese and Mandarin, so those of you who are listening in who wants to speak to me in Chinese, they can also email me that way. And I hope that my information and presentation was exciting and fun for you today. And I always have fun with Connectra, and I hope to see you guys in the new year. Okay.
That was great. Thank you so much for your time, Renee.
Yeah, no problem. So the oven will just be on for another 10 minutes, and it will be exciting for me to share a picture on the website, the Facebook for you after it comes out of the oven. All right, so if there's no questions, I'm going to sign off.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.